Hello friends, welcome back to our channel Adamya Education. So as promised last week, today we are back with a few numericals from the chapter motion based on graphs. So before we begin, let me first clear a few concepts. From a given graph, we can find two types of quantities. First of all, if there is a division relationship between the quantities on the x and the y axis, in that case, for the division relationship, we will find out the slope of the graph. And if the quantity which we want to find is the multiplication relationship between the two quantities on the axis, then we need to find out the area of the graph. So let's begin. While doing the questions, it will be quite clear to you. So the first question is, the graph given alongside shows the position of a body at different times. As you can see, it is a distance time graph, and the graph is a straight line from A to B. Then it is a line parallel to the x-axis from B to C, and from C to D again it is a straight line. You need to find out the speed of the body as it moves from A to B, B to C and C to D. So this is our question. So let's begin. Let's see. So we have to find out the speed, that is the division relationship between the distance and the time. That means we need to find out the slope of the graph. So first of all, they have said that from the region A to B, that means this region, we need to find out the speed. So we know that speed is equal to distance by time. So in this case, what is the distance? Only in this part of the graph, okay? The distance given is 3 minus 0. So what are we basically going to do? We are going to subtract the upper part from the lower part divided by what is the time? This difference. So we have 5 minus 2. Okay. So 3 minus 0 is 3. 5 minus 2 is 3. The answer is 1 meter per second. Slope of the graph basically means we need to find out the height divided by base of this given triangle. Alright, or you can just simply do it the way I did it. The upper value of the distance minus the lower value divided by the difference in the time given in the question. So the first answer is speed is equal to 1 meter per second. Let's move on to the second part of the question. Now they have asked us to find out the speed of the body from B to C. So as we can see, during the interval B to C, the graph is a straight line parallel to the time axis. That means the distance has not changed at all. So since the distance has not changed, which means that the speed is 0. But how we are going to find it out using the graph? Speed is equal to, like I said, we have to subtract the final and the original value. So in this case, C is also at 3 centimeter, B is also at 3 centimeter. This should be meter actually. So both B and C are at the 3 meter mark. So 3 minus 3 divided by what is the time duration? 7 minus 5. So 3 minus 3 is 0, 7 minus 5 is 2. The answer is 0 meter per second. So even if you don't write it in this way, you can just simply write, since the graph is a parallel line with respect to the time axis, as a result of which the speed is 0. Now coming to the third part of the question. We need to find out the speed from C to D. So again we are going to consider this triangle. Don't consider the entire trapezium, alright? We just need to consider the triangle. So as you can see over here, the distance is 7 and 3. That means 7 minus 3 divided by what is the duration of time? 9 minus 7. So you have 4 by 2. So the answer is 2 meter per second. I guess you have understood. Moreover, you can see that from A to B, the graph is less steeper as compared to C to D. That's why you can see that in case of C to D, the speed is more as compared to A to B. So this is how you have to find out. Now, if in the question you had to find something which is related to the multiplication relationship of the two quantities, so we need to find out the area under the graph. So in that case, we would have considered the entire trapezium. But for slope, we are just going to consider the triangle. Next question. The velocity time graph of a SUV is given below. What is the distance traveled by the SUV in the first 2 seconds? First 2 seconds means during this interval. So from the graph we can see that we can form a triangle in that interval. So let's find out the distance. So in the question we have a velocity time graph and we have been asked to find out the distance. So don't get confused over here. Distance, displacement, speed, velocity is almost the same quantity, because there is no such thing given as the shortest distance or something like that. So you are going to consider the distance and displacement to be the same quantity itself. So we know velocity into time will give you the displacement or the distance. So since this is a multiplication relationship, we are going to find out the area of the graph. So this is a triangle. So in order to find out the area, we know the formula is half into base into height. So half into, what is the base of this triangle? 2. The height is 15. So the answer is 15 meter. 15 meter is the distance traveled by the SUV in the first 2 seconds. Now what is the next part of the question? What is the deceleration after 5 seconds to stop the SUV? As you can see, starting from 5 seconds to 6 seconds, the graph is in the downward manner. That means the velocity is decreasing, or you can say the car is decelerating, or you can also call it retardation. So we need to find out what is the retardation. So as we know, retardation or acceleration, it is a division relationship between velocity and time. So in this case, we are going to find out the slope of the graph. But since it is a downward slope, the slope will be negative. So how are we going to do this? Acceleration is equal to 15 minus 0. It started from 15, it ended at 0. So 15 minus 0 divided by, what is the time duration? 6 minus 5. Since this is a downward slope, we are just going to put a minus sign at the beginning. So we have minus 15 by 1, that is minus 15 meter per second square. This is the retardation of the SUV. Now the third question. Figure shows the displacement of a body at different times. So this is a displacement time graph. Our question is, we need to find the velocity from 0 to 5 seconds, 5 to 7 seconds, and 7 to 9 seconds, just like the previous graph that we did. And also we need to calculate the average velocity during the time interval 5 seconds to 9 seconds. Alright, so let's do it. So from 0 to 5 seconds, we need to find out the velocity. That means this part. So we need to find out the slope. So velocity is equal to the final velocity 3 minus the initial velocity 0 divided by the time duration is 5 minus 0. So 3 by 5 meter per second. This is the velocity during 0 to 5 seconds. Now from 5 to 7 seconds, as you can see, like I explained previously, the graph is a straight line parallel to the time axis. So the velocity will be 0 because the distance is not changing at all. Now the third part of the question, you have to find out the velocity from 7 to 9 seconds. So again, since it is a division relationship, we need to find out the slope, and that means we need to consider the triangle, not the entire trapezium. So over here in question number 3, the final velocity is 7, the initial velocity is 3, divided by the time duration is 9 minus 7. So the answer is same like the previous case, it is 2 meter per second. Now the next question is a little tricky because you might get confused and make mistakes in such parts. Let's see. Calculate the average velocity during the time interval 5 seconds to 9 seconds. That means we just need to consider this part. 5 seconds to 9 seconds, this much, not the rest. So from 5 seconds to 9 seconds, we need to find out the average velocity. If you remember, the formula for average speed or average velocity is total distance by total time. So what is the total distance during that time? As you can see, the object was initially at 3 meter and it has moved to 7 meters. So what is the total distance traveled? 4 meter. And what is the total time duration from 5 seconds to 9 seconds? 4 seconds, isn't it? So the average velocity is 1 meter per second. You're not going to find out the total distance through all the different parts, like this part, then this part, then this part. No, they have just asked us the average velocity during the time interval from 5 seconds to 9 seconds. So we are going to consider the distance traveled during that interval and also the time consumed. So this is how you can find out the average velocity. Hope you are understanding the topic well. Now coming to the last question. This is a very common question. It is asked in CBSE as well as in ICSE. Let's see. Figure ahead represents the displacement time sketch of motion of two cars A and B, like you can see. You need to find out a few things. Let's see. The distance by which the car B was initially ahead of car A. As you can see, car B was ahead of car B. B started from here, A started from here. So what is the distance by which B was ahead? 40 kilometer. The velocities of car A and B, we need to find out the velocity. So since this is a this is a division relationship between displacement and time, we need to find out the slope of the graph. So observe it very carefully. Since we have two graphs, we need to be very vigilant while doing this. Let's first find it out for A. So I'm taking this triangle for A. So for A, velocity is equal to, what is the final velocity? What is the final distance? 80. What is the initial distance? 0. What is the time interval? 2 minus 0. So 80 by 2, that is 40 kilometer per hour. Alright, now if you want to find out the velocity of car B, we are going to take another triangle. Let me take this triangle. So we have to start from the point where the graph of B is starting. We are not going to take the entire triangle like we did in A, because A started from the origin but B is not starting from the origin. So make sure you don't get confused here. So for B, the velocity is, the final distance is 80, the initial distance is 40, and the time duration is 2. So we have 40 by 2. The answer is 20 kilometer per hour. Okay, the time in which car A catches car B, as you can see, there is a point where both the cars have intersecting points, this point. So what is the time duration where they are touching each other? 2 seconds. The distance from the start when the car A will catch B, so we need to find out at what distance they are catching one another. So as you can see from the graph, 80 kilometer is the distance where they have coincided. So 80 kilometer is the answer. So you do this question and you get 5 marks easily. So I hope you have understood the concept of how we can use graphs in order to find out the various quantities related to motion. So next week we are going to solve 2025 question paper of physics. Last day when I was shuffling through the questions, I saw that the questions are really top notch, and you really need a good amount of practice in order to excel in it. So we are going to practice that. Maybe we will not be able to do the entire paper in one day, but we are going to first finish the MCQs and then move to the rest of the questions one by one. So I hope you have understood. Keep studying well, and if there's any doubt, please feel free to write it down in the comment section. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Bye everybody.